right, let's do this, John. Good morning.
Is it ready to go?
Yeah, we're finally on.
Well, I'm in a mood, and so are you. But neither mood are like complementary in a sense. You're in one over there in a mood, and I'm in a different mood over here.
I'm actually in a pretty good mood. I've got a full day ahead of me. It's all pretty awesome.
Yep, me too.
You just triggered me by asking me what was on the board. I've since covered it up because it's so dangerous and so bad. Okay,
Yeah.
I did erase it, but
And it is something you jump all over down into my bucket and beat me up. I can't even get out. I'm trying to help people understand.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. John, what I appreciate about John is John has much more patience with people than even I do.
Could I say way more?
Now, it's funny though. I think that some people don't believe that about you, but
I know.
I do know you have more patience than me.
I know a lot of people misunderstand me.
They do misunderstand.
In my Facebook, it says a understood man I am. I'm very misunderstood.
Did you used to be like an angry dude?
I what?
Did you used to be like really angry?
Yes.
Okay.
I was an angry man. I'm not an angry man anymore.
No, I don't see that.
It's fallen into patient and observatory. So I want to say
It's
something.
taking your whole life to become an observer.
We're going to get to a place where
Okay.
we're going to talk about something and be observatory about the lack of leadership, but not derogatory. Although Mike might be because he's the bad boy. I'm the good boy today. Okay. So
Yes. We did pre-plan out this script here.
yeah. I love you, Mike. Before we get done with this,
Yeah.
with this tape, I just want you to know I love you. I might not when I'm done, but
So nice, John. Now John got coffee all over me. Luckily, the stuff dries very.
I didn't know
quickly.
you were holding it with that hand. Anyway,
We're gonna kick this off. So we were talking about leadership before on here. No surprise, we did a leadership podcast. This is still the same podcast, but it was one of those things that I'd say kind of like if I were to sum up some of the conversation, like really kind of the crux of it is, it's the nature of leading people and organizations where you're not the leader and their level of leadership is low. And just
Not
that,
high,
just the complexity that goes along with that. Because I've actually run into that situation a lot, like a lot. And it's one of these things where it's like, if you just do these kind of simple things, just magical stuff starts to happen. Because admittedly, it feels kind of magical and it's hard to like immediately point to in like a scientific kind of way. But I tell people, like, if you don't have literal, what I call vertical alignment of leaders, and what that really means is a person who has leadership capabilities, not a title or something, but from the top person, if that person isn't talking to we'll call it the mopping janitor who just so happens to be a leader, if those people aren't in a conversation, even as a group together, you're gonna have problems. Because when you have that, you all of a sudden have the clarity. The top can make sure that all the way down at the bottom, there's somebody that's going to push their agenda all the way at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And so at each level, there's some person who is actually representing that push for that. Well, hey guys, we're doing this because of that. And so Tom, for example, gets this for free with me because he'll go and explain these things. And so if you influence me, I'm going to start influencing all the people around me. So then Tom has additional powers by getting out his things by going to me, because when somebody says something in a group that Tom's not at, they actually get Tom's response in a very, and now I'm doing his bidding where I may even give other kinds of responses.
one of the things I learned about me and you,
Yeah.
I couldn't do this with anybody else that I know of in Mountain City. You know why? Because the way you are, thoughtful, a little deeper than surface, if not
It's definitely
deeper. But it's very important for me that you're not boring. Because I'm going to tell you something.
No one has ever described me as boring. I promise you that.
I have a real problem with boring. I mean, I seriously, even a friend of mine came up to me and said, "You got a problem with boring?" My own son said, "You got a problem with boring?" I said, "No, no, I don't have a problem with it. I just hate it and detest it and want to kill it." Does that answer your
I
question?
love my parents, but my parents are boring.
Boring.
They used to be. It's funny because they used to not be boring, but they're like they're maybe not boring in that like level now.
Yeah, but you were interested. They were your parents, but then you went on.
No. It's just like the nature of who they are. They used to have like, and they weren't. It has nothing to do with me. Again, I'm observing them. They used to be really popular people that have people come to their house like all the time. They, for example, would buy a house because it has a pool so that they could have pool parties. So like they were like that type, but then all of a sudden now they become these kind of like weird hermits.
You can't explain that.
No.
I don't know why, but that's the way my parents were. They had.
And if you were to say boring, this is what kind of triggered me. If you said, "Hey, you guys are kind of boring and normal," they'd be like, "Thank you."
And I would say that if the Catholics are right and there's mortal, venal, cardinal sins, then the worst sin, whichever one of those are, probably cardinal is the worst. Boring is the cardinal sin.
Certainly,
To me, it's the cardinal sin.
certainly
Anyway.
there's some biblical, context there, or some.
Oh, maybe not.
Well, I think of who was it? I'm gonna totally get this wrong. Is it Paul that writes about like the lukewarm?
Yeah. No. Well, Jesus said.
Yeah, it was Jesus. Yeah.
And
You're either cold or you're hot, and obviously if I was
to
cold,
the church of
if I
Thyatira.
was
something.
cold by comparison to you, it would at least be very feisty of a conversation.
Yeah, I think Jesus does not want us to be poured on something and no effect. Either freeze the person or burn the person, but don't just, when you, if I can be vulgar, when you pee in yourself, you don't realize it until wetness takes over. It's not the temperature. The temperature's the same. You're either bored, burned, or frozen, but you're not. If it's lukewarm, you can't stand it. I agree with that. I don't like lukewarm. It drives me crazy.
Well, I will tell you, it's funny you say that because I got really triggered. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm actually with you that is definitely we'll call it a pet peeve or a challenge or something to somebody who is trying to get something across, where it has no impact. No impact.
What the heck is that for? So we're talking
So
about
anyways.
leadership, where leaders are not really helpful to get a functionality that makes the group different than just a boring group.
Yes.
Leadership has to be, to some degree, a kick in the pants more than just a pat on the back. Nice soft pat on the back. It has to be a better functionality.
There's actually a third one there, and most people don't know this. It's never taught. I actually coined it for myself, but I saw it in the Marine Corps. I really didn't see it until I went to OCS. As in, I didn't recognize it. It was there, but I didn't recognize it. And what I call it is a command voice. So it's neither one of those. And you could maybe call it kink of pants, but it's really not. You ever see the movie Dune? Like
Yeah.
they just redid it. So the women in there, they have like that voice that like controls people and stuff. It's that, and it's really real. And what it is it's a very straightforward, very direct way of speaking that is not angry, very important, and it's very crystal clear on what it is, and it's just telling somebody to do something. It's just straight direction, straight commanding, and the reality is you can do it to people all the time. People don't do it; they do all this other stuff. They ask, they whatever. But the reality is you can actually command people. You could go around and just say, "Hey, pick up that piece of trash." First time I really saw it, where I was like, "This is totally unmistakable. I've never seen anything like this." Like somebody who has like leadership skills, like I had really never seen before, was this pastor of a church, this like really tiny church in Louisiana, and we were like Christmas caroling with them, and we're going along in it, and he had like kids, and he was just like directing them. You go to that house. You go to that house. You go do that. And they were just like boom, 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 like instantaneous, as though he was like a military commander, and they had all this training. they had no training. They were not like taught like when I tell you, you need to go. Like there was no that's not what's happening. He's sending a signal that's very unambiguous in there that that's what you need to go do right now. And he wasn't mad about it. He wasn't angry about it.
Of
It was
course.
super effective.
Of course, there are those outside that are saying, listening to that, are saying, I have a wrong understanding. Leadership has to be out front doing it for them,
There's
and
some truth to that.
and not rude or indiscriminate, but very careful not to hurt their feelings or and thank God these people don't say like Jesus, because Jesus was very
Whoa.
tough and didn't care about feelings and called people whitewash walls and viper snakes and a den
Yeah, he's standing there and he just sees you in the crowd. He didn't even say anything. You speak for speak for your badness. You're talking about vipers. If I'm not mistaken, when he was saying the vipers, they hadn't actually even said anything.
No, and they were Pharisees, and he knew what there was on their mind and on their hearts. So we do have to have a connection with the group to some degree to kind of get a feel for people's hearts, because hearts give the group a depth of quality, integrity that the group needs in order to be fully functional. However, there are weak groups doing very weak things that I'm actually glad. There are weak religions that are doing weak things. I'm very glad that they do that. Like the Catholic Church takes care of orphanages. It's very nice.
Is it possible for a weak religion to be strong? I just from a philosophical standpoint, I don't entirely believe this, so I'm not trying to make this as a totality claim. Well, I actually believe it in one way, but not in the other way. I don't believe that something weak can necessarily take over. I think its strength qualities actually do that. But at some point, its weak qualities, especially if they're not built on a solid ground, they all crumble apart.
Maybe those listening don't know what the heck we're talking about.
It's
They think
very
we're going on. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to bring it into a framework where you can understand, put it that way, comprehend what a leadership is, because I could say that I failed in leadership, but I learned where I failed. I learned I should have done this, I should have done that, and I had to gain some kind of understanding to help me be more precise and directive and that kind of thing. So, and what we're saying is we're seeing groups, churches be. We were just talking about this earlier. Technically boring, or the same old, or under a certain kind of doctrine, and that's it, and everybody follows suit, but they're not really effective. They're not affecting, causing something to happen that needs to happen. I mean, and I don't mean a community effort. Let's all get together because we're all blue or yellow. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We have to have some kind of effectiveness where we're not just same old as everybody else everywhere else. Doesn't mean we have to be rebels and against everything. I don't believe that, because that takes too much effort. But we do have to be effective.
People are afraid. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems to make sense. People are afraid to requisition the people around them for fear that those people will leave because you've given them something.
I went up to a guy. I told him about the need for some of the gifts in the church. And I said, then you, for example, you're being a leader of this group and everything. And when you're up front, you're darn near, your voice is lower, and you're so close to boring that I can't even hear a good thing from you if you gave a good thing, because you're so blasé and same old. And I'm saying, get up and have a little passion, have a little fire in you. You know what happened? Yeah. He didn't like me anymore, because I gave him the truth, but he didn't like me anymore. He kind of like avoided me. Not that he wasn't a good guy, a nice guy, and good people and everything, but they realized that provoking, like we talked about, I try to provoke more than I try to assuage. I don't try to assuage anybody. I try to provoke them. And the Bible does say, provoke unto good works.
I
And
wonder
so,
if you would have had more success. Maybe you should try this sometime. It's just to tell them to do that.
do what?
Just tell them. Just say, "Oh, next time you're on stage, do it with passion."
I did that.
Well, what'd you literally say?
I did that. I told them, when you get up and speak, have some fire, some passion. Because pretty
No,
much.
no. Subtle difference. Subtle difference. You're convincing them to do that. I'm saying, tell them to do that.
I think I pretty much told them in the way that I do. Because
I'm sure you're probably a force to be reckoned
it
with.
ticked him off. If it provoked him, I say I was a success. Because he'll never, ever get in front of anybody and not hear a word back here saying, have some passion. Have some fire.
I totally agree with you, John. I totally agree.
You got to have some
Totally
fire.
agree.
Some people
Because
get
you're
up.
talking about like what
This is
what-
why I really hate when someone says, "Why don't you get up and share a word?" I'm not going to share a word. I'm going to tell you what's what. I'm going to speak as though I'm an oracle of God. You got to speak as if you're speaking for God. I'll get up and share. Let me just share. I have a pie.
Oh,
I have a
see.
pie. I want to give you a little piece. Oh, please.
I see.
Yeah, I don't want a little piece. I want the pie. Give me the pie.
So I've run into this recently. I'm gonna beat around the bush to beat around the bush to beat around the bush, but I definitely I remember you talking about this like a while back about like the sharing thing. So you go to kinds of groups, and it's just what it ends up being is just a share fest. I feel this,
It's a share fest.
or I believe this,
feeling.
or I read this, and it just turns into this like. And it can sound even a little bit different where it's like, I think this, or I'm reading this over here. It's just like the nature of that where what it ends up actually being is everybody just wants to throw their 2 cents in on like a topic.
Yeah, and you and I have a little bit of a nature that we're intolerant of that nonsense.
I am now. Well, now that I see it, I'm like, what I've come down to is I'm going like, what are we doing? Like, what are we like? Where are we going with this? Are we gonna get somewhere? Like, I get that there's this idea called what is it called? Making sense. So this is I heard this online, and this is like a supposedly maybe what we're doing right here is we're making sense. And what the idea is that there's 2 people or more people, and they're trying to understand some cloudy topic. And so each person's coming with this different perspective, which could be a feeling, it could be a thought. And then it provides this multidimensional clarity about something really hard. So I've seen podcasts where people are trying to understand society at large, like what is happening. So somebody's sharing from this perspective and that, and it's like it's making sense. I've consumed a lot of podcasts like that over time. And eventually I had to stop because I'm going, now what? And it's just one of those things that it's like by knowing something or knowing more about it, it just means you know more aspects about it, but that doesn't mean anything.
See, sometimes it's difficult to be appreciative of a leader that claws his way out of the leaves. He never can be happy. He jumps in the leaves. He has that experience, but he claws his way out to, let's find something else to do. Now, I did that.
Yeah,
Been there, done that. And as trouble is you crawl yourself out of the leaves to go for the next experience or whatever, and people don't understand that. Well, let's just have fun just with the leaves. Well, we're not made that way. I'm not made that way. If I already I've been there, done that, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Now, suddenly, that exciting event turned into boring for me. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, John, this is very relevant in my current life. I know what you mean. Yeah. It's funny because I was asked this recently, like where, like career-wise, which I don't even acknowledge that term even exists personally, but I also don't work at the one company that I'm marching along. That's the only career I know. So anyway, somebody was asking me like, well, what are you doing? And all of a sudden I was like, I have no idea, to be perfectly honest. And the only thing I could even think of, which I didn't say out loud, was new. Like, I mean, because there's so much that's like out there, but if I'm just totally honest, it's like, well, it just seems like new, and it's not, of course, not new, just pure new. Like, I'm gonna work in the mailroom now because that's new. It's not quite like that, but it is. It's like, well, that's different. That's like a different aspect. So, okay, I guess I'll do that. it's really not a good way to make decisions. It should definitely be much more like, and to their credit, they're kind of encouraging me, going like, where's your career goals? Where are you trying to go so that we can try to get you there? I did not give good answers for it. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, being in my situation, semi-retired kind of thing, retired in one sense, not retired in another sense, retarded in a full sense, but not retarded totally.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly where I'm going because I don't think that's something I need to figure out.
Well,
Some people sit down and try to figure out where they're going. Where I don't think that's something I need to figure out.
well, do you think I'm now gonna provoke / encourage you over?
Yeah.
I see provoking and encouraging apparently being the same thing, but do you not see that you guys are the proverbial trailer hitched to Tyler and them?
We're a trailer hitched to them?
Yeah.
No. I don't know. Well, it depends on what you mean. I mean,
In other words, it may make sense for you to subvert your future to basically support their future.
well, I think that's what we've been doing.
That's what I'm saying. That's literally what I just said.
Oh, okay.
That you're a trailer that is supporting them. Trailer in the sense of
Oh, I see
like
what you mean.
they're going in that direction and they're basically kind of towing you along. But not in the sense, it's not a good metaphor that you're not dead weight. That's actually kind of the opposite. But you're not a horse either.
I was thinking about
see my
something.
point?
I was thinking about something today because somebody made a quote that, and my old mentor used to say, "Nobody rejects a servant." So I'm sitting down, I'm going, okay, the servant is over here. He's going to give me a beer or give me a milk or give me some food. He's a servant, and he puts it on the table and he serves me. We understand that concept.
Yeah, I love this idea.
But then he says, it goes a little farther, and he says, now, you got one button unbuttoned, like I just buttoned this button. Now you're going to allow that servant to come over and button your button. Now that's another level that I don't want. So I sprained my wrist, and Ginny said, let me help you, let me do this for you, let me button your button, let me put this on, I'll put this stuff on. And I had to let her serve me.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not my nature. I got it. I can do it. It's a little bit independent, we would say. But that level of servanthood, allowing that servanthood. You think about Jesus. He let that woman come in, worship him with her tears and hair, wash his feet. First off, I probably wouldn't let the woman in. Secondly, to let her with her hair and tears wash my feet, that ain't happening.
That's pretty ballsy, man. That's pretty intense.
That's pretty tense. And so Jesus knew that servitude, he had to be served too. In fact, he was the ultimate servant. But we'll get into that later. But so
I actually really love that the metaphor there, and the because obviously the crux of the point being made is, like by being servant, you'll be raised up. And the thing about that person in there is the proof in the nature that person made it into the book. And now here we are in 2025 talking about it. And all she had to do was just serve somebody's feet one time, and then now she's in the book for all time. That's its actual fact. Just if you stop long enough to see that obvious fact, that one activity. She didn't have to die on the cross. She didn't actually have to go preach to nobody. She didn't have to do none of that stuff. And she was held, and you would almost say that Jesus raised her up over all of those people who were doing all that work with them.
So I'm going to say something to y'all that I'm saying. The quality of leadership that I'm thinking about, I know, Mike, we talked about this before, is Jesus was the king of the universe, the creator, the ultimate king of all kings. And he allowed her to do that. So we have to allow a certain amount of servitude in order to be a leader that Jesus was like. Because if I was a great leader with great money, nobody served me. You do what I tell you. I pay for it. But with Christ, he allowed such a lowly woman, whom, by the way, he set free from prostitution, I believe. So he allowed her to wash his feet, and it was in the annals of history. Somehow we have to find a way to be leaders without sacrificing leadership. We have to be leaders. We have to be out there front and leading, yet we have to allow others to serve us, and that's very difficult. That gets across that ego and that will and that mind and that attitude that we're better or superior or whatever the case may
It's
be.
so funny. I've had like 3 thoughts over the last like 20 or so minutes of like, because you said something like, oh, I couldn't do this podcast with any other person here. And people have asked me like, I don't know how you can be around John or whatever. You know, they'll ask me these questions. I'm like, I don't even understand that. Only to the extent that it's like, oh, you don't know the guy. That's why.
I misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're pulling from like some particular kind of angle of maybe what they know, which is surface level.
It's surface
So you
level.
really suck at the surface level, John. You need to fix whatever you got going on there.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. I was thinking. I was like, well, this is why I do it, because it's like there's things there that I'm gonna pull from that it takes a while. So because they'll also ask me. It's kind of a side question. It's a little bit less about you. They're like, well, how could you hang around an idealist? When it's like, because I know, and because people say that about other idealists, like why I always end up hanging out with these other types that are idealists. It's like, well, because they actually have stuff to contribute that most people don't value at all. And you think you don't, but you're not around it long enough to go like, gold, and that stuff could be. It's very hard to point. It's hard to even articulate, but it's like it's that.
Someone said to me, "You got to be careful, John, hanging around Mike. You don't want to come off as a harsh a-hole." That's what they said, and difficult to comprehend and understand and listen to. He can be very what was the word they used?
Crass.
Crass and insensitive, and I said, it's interesting because my nature doesn't see that. I see it different.
They don't want to know what I want to say to that, but
Well, they don't want to. They have to deal with it, but I don't have to deal with it.
no, you don't.
I don't have to deal with it. You better deal with that. Deal with what? I mean,
Deal
we
with
don't.
what?
We don't have that. So there's something.
So that tells you something, John.
Yeah,
It tells
leadership.
You, well, no, there's that, but it tells you, it ain't me, it's you. Because I mean, it's just by virtue of it. How could I possibly be different to you, John? I'm just, dude. I promise you, I am not faking it and rolling around. The reason why I'm getting even puffed up and excited in the conversation is because of the nature of the conversation. If I was in some other conversation, I'm not getting all excited.
Yeah.
Well, why am I not getting excited? Because the topic at hand. Now, I could probably try to throw some things in there, but if there's no bites, there's no sinking on it, it's never going to get to that point.
But the reason I'm saying this too, though, Mike, is if you're not open to someone like me being able to say, "Hey," like you just told me, whatever you got going on there, you got to change it, like you said to me.
Yeah.
I've got to say that, be able to say that to you, and you receive it, so that you're not a lone ranger out there. I'm right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're right and everyone else is wrong, there's a problem. I mean, then you get to a point where
Possibly. Possibly.
possibly.
I mean, I agree. There is a problem, but it's
You saw that.
It
You
may
saw
not
that.
be the same problems that everybody thinks. I think of, for example, like the Nicholas Teslas out there. There's been a lot of quasi lone rangers who have tried to pass things off onto society who was not ready for it, and then they eventually inherited the gifts that they gave them. And you look at their lives, and they were not nice. Franz Kafka's. Edgar Allan Poe's. There's a lot out there. Not that I put myself in any one of those categories. I agree, though.
But how is that affecting the church?
Well,
Because I'm saying that in leadership, church, there are these autocratic leaders. You can't tell them anything, and then there are these leaders that's so full of feelings that everything has to be connected to feelings. I call them feelings,
Yeah.
and like the song says, feelings, nothing more than feelings, and then that gets sickening and horrible, and gets sick after a while because feelings are just feelings, but we have to deal with it.
It make you nauseous because of the amount of whiplash you have. That
Well, you can.
1 minute's that, the next minute.
But the other side, an autocratic, demanding tyrant, we're not going to be inclined to listen to him either, because now he's so far out there that you can't touch him.
These ideas need to be updated because there's now these soft tyrants. They're everywhere. In fact, I believe this is the thing. I mean, I'm all about the fact that, like, for example, men need to like raise their game up and they need to like go start pulling from the past, because the reality is there's soft tyrannism everywhere. So these, for example, the people that are making all these comments about me, I just go to them and say, I'm raising the bar up to where it needs to be at a minimum, and you're so far down on that bar that that's all you, dude. Most people are lazy in their thinking, they're lazy in their life, they're lazy in their relationships, and they're definitely lazy in their actions. So it's like, yeah, I come off real crass about this because I will just call it out, and then while they're all stewing, I move on. I love to put some stuff on Facebook and just move on with my life. Because I just get to gas it out and just everybody else gets mad about it. Well, guess what, dude? It's one of these things, like, I know people who have had their legs blown off. I know people have been blown up like 6 times. I went to a gala, a special forces gala, and the person who was there, who did the speech, has 10 Bronze Stars. John, there's
What's a Bronze Star?
A Bronze Star is like,
It got injured in battle.
no, that's a Purple Heart.
No. I mean, Bronze Star is
A Bronze Star is a medal that is given either for actions with valor or meritorious, and they do not just hand these out.
no.
So in other words, like, if you have a Bronze Star, you have actually done something. Like, and there has to be like eyewitnesses, there has to be like a report written about it, and so on and so on. So anyways, it's not all the end all be all, but 10, literally have never heard of anybody getting 10 Bronze Stars. Well, I know why he got 10 Bronze Stars, because he lived in Afghanistan for 18 years. That's why. So all I'm trying to convey, which is the reality, and this is something that I've kind of picked up on. The population at large has become really soft, that it has allowed soft tyrantism to totally take over. It has permeated everybody's personalities to the point where they're trying to do the same thing, where it's like,
true.
Well, if I'm offended because of whatever, then it must be that you're bad. What is this? This
Maybe
is crazy.
it's you. You're offended because of you, not because of the person that's offending you. So,
Yeah.
have you ever
Anyways.
read the book by Everett Koop called Dumbing Down of America? It's the principle is the same, that we've gotten so soft and don't want to think and don't want to get too deep that we've actually all become dumb. The whole nation's become kind of dumb, and that's true. There's that softening and dumbing down and numbing of America, whereas we don't care anymore. We don't want to exert ourselves. We're just lazy. It's true.
John, people call me a genius. Do you know how offensive that is? It's offensive to me because it is true that I have like a high intensity that then gets combined with like the desire to learn. I am nothing compared to people who were back in like the 40s and the 50s. I would say even quasi-regular people who were like way more skilled than me. Dude, I was like a C student. Like, we were just talking in last night in bed, we were talking about like going to school. We were talking about like our kids and the nature of homeschool versus like not homeschool or whatever. And I always make these comments like to remind my wife, like, our kids would already be in school at 7:30. They're not even awoke yet. They would have had to have dressed themselves, made breakfast, ate, been at the road on time, just these things. And so all of our friends don't live any of this kind of life. But the key thing here was like, I was like, I used to do my homework while the teacher was like coming around to like check the papers. And so my wife said, that doesn't sound smart. That's who people are calling a genius. I'm not a genius.
Oh, I'm not either.
But I could totally see, I'm meshing, I'm feeling with what you're saying about the dumbing down of America, because if I start to become at the top of the crop, heaven help us.
Well, I mean, I just see it. I'm trying to keep it in the church aspect
Yes.
of leadership that get so lazy that they don't really do the things that the church needs them to do. Like I said,
Yeah.
everything rises and falls on leadership, and if leadership is lazy and weak, so the church will be too. because the church takes on that character. And so that's a problem with churches today. That's why I'm doing this. I think part of the reason why is because there's so many things that could be said that would help people, but are not said in church. And so you have a church that's kind of settled for, if you're a settler, it's one thing. But if you're a person that's going to go out into the wilderness and point the way and get you into an area that's better, the grass is greener over there, let's go that way. That's a pointer. But people settle. They, I don't want to settle right here. Just like half the tribe of Manasseh and a couple other tribes, they said, let us stay on this side of Jordan and we raise cattle. But we'll go fight for you. We'll pray for you. We'll keep up there in that way for you. But we're going to settle right here. And they settled, guess what? Over the years, from Numbers 32 to Jesus' time where he cast out devils out of the demoniac, they ended up raising pigs, which is an unclean meat. So the Jews went from a good thing, raising cattle, but because they settled there, they ended up falling into a bad thing over time. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Somehow we got to get people, and it takes a prophetic.
Have you really spent a bunch of time with Pastor Ron?
Spent time with Ron?
Yeah, Pastor Ron.
The old guy, no.
Yeah, you should. He's getting a little old, so like in the last 2 years, he kind of was, he's kind of
I know.
But he's a former Marine, and he set up the church.
He was a Marine?
Yeah, he's a Marine, and you'll find out real quickly he was a Marine.
Oh, okay.
So in other words,
we chatted a little bit, but
he used to work on Agent Orange, in Vietnam. His job was loading Agent Orange into bombs. Yes. This is what real men do, John. And
but I think that was just mustard. They called it orange.
So he did immense amount of missionary work or whatever in South America, lived in South America and all this kind of stuff. Then he was called by God to come back and then found the church or whatever. So you go talk to him. So one of his favorite things, and I got to throw this out at you, he would tell me this all the time. He would just walk by and he's just can't save anybody by hanging out with Christians. just walking by, and I'm like, because he knows, John, he's not fooled by any of this stuff.
No, I'm sure he isn't.
That's what he found her is because that guy was a leader. He's going, we're doing all this. He learned all the hard. I'm sure he learned all the hard way. Where it's okay, well, in order to create a church, I got to.
I wonder why he. I never did. I'm gonna have to have a talk with that boy.
You absolutely should.
I will have a talk with him.
Absolutely.
Anyway, today we are chit-chatting about areas that are lacking in leadership.
Yeah.
We're getting a lazy society. You know what? I'll tell you right now, I don't even believe, you probably believe this, but probably 95% of the Christians in the church don't read their Bible.
Let me add another statistic to it, because I've been waiting for a good time to throw it in, and it's perfect for this. Tyler and I have spent plenty of time calculating percentages on hours of time in and out of church and stuff like that. People, as part of their waking lives, this helps the numbers, not hurt them. Just a part of their waking lives, spend 1% of their life in church, at best. So, in other words, you were saying what kind of really drawing me on here was going well, I'm trying to keep this in the church perspective. I agree. But people are spending 99% of their lives outside of church. And so they're bringing the same lazy behaviors that they have outside of the church and lack of leadership into the church. And that's part of the problem, is the fact that they're not engaged fully. The church isn't actually part of an organic, full part of their life.
Well, men smarter than me have written books, all kinds of reasons how they can change it and that's true, and how to make it better. But I listened to one guy, and he said, what changes that is that people get hungry. And if they're not hungry, they don't go for more food. And he said, you've got to somehow get a person more hungry. And sometimes people come up to me and say, you say that, but it kind of upsets me. I go, good. That's a provocation. Why does it upset you? Are you doing this? No, I'm not. Well, then maybe you need to be hungry to do that. And that's another problem that we run into.
I'm writing that down. Sorry, when you're completely right, John.
Yeah.
It is actually a hungry thing. It's across the board.
If they're not hungry, they're not going to go eat. They're not going to go try to find food.
So I've heard I hear all this like crazy stuff in business, and I think about it from time to time. And of course, they say don't think about it, just go do it. But one of the things is one of the there's all these things that people don't appreciate about the mechanics. They want to criticize it. Not guilty as charged. Pot calling kettle black. But they don't appreciate that there can be multifacets to things, and there can actually be positives to things that people see as really bad. So I'm going to say I'm going to stole the virtues of debt. So the virtues of debt are that it creates hunger. So in other words, it makes you want to go out and go do things, and there is some value to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that debt's amazing. That's not what I'm saying. But it is a side effect, a function, or it may even be a primary function to actually get movement, so people continue to show up and they don't just settle, and they don't just fall off. And as a result, they actually continue to get benefits. And so what some people will do with their companies is they will take on so much debt to grow that they have to grow to continue to service it. There's plenty of bad to be said about that, but what ends up happening is it's a forcing function for people to continue to innovate and do new things. And as a result, there's a lot of people that benefit from that. That's just true.
That's my prayer. My prayer is that people get hungry.
Hungry.
Because when they're hungry, man, I gotta have a hamburger. I gotta have a drink. I gotta have something. Because hungry is.
You're so right. Okay, let's get into it, because I'm hungry right now. How do you get people hungry?
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to say. I believe that provocation is getting across something if it's provoking you, you got to have some kind of hunger. If it don't provoke you, don't care. You're not hungry. You're not interested because you're not hungry. But if I say to you, you don't have any bread to eat, and you're not eating bread, you're eating fake bread, and that's not going to work for you, and you go, whoa, you got to have that hunger for the things of God. If you don't have hunger, you're not going to go deeper. And they did a test where they had rats that would not go across the electric and give them electric shock. It was either for a female, a sex thing, they would go, or for hunger, and really hunger was the biggest thing because they knew if they didn't eat, they'd die. So sometimes the draw is if you're hungry. I've been hungry since 1970.
That's been all right. I try to explain this to people that it's like one of the critiques I've had about some of the group type stuff is the blind leading the blind, and I've mentioned to people, I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe we need to bring John in or something. They're like, that's crazy. I'm like, no. This dude is quoting the Bible way beyond what you guys have any concept of.
Yeah, but I don't think they believe that. They think I've already been told, you think you got, and I'm just saying, look, there's words that you need to hear that will provoke you to get food, to get somewhere, to satisfy that inner. And if you're provoked and you're upset, it's probably a good indication that you're hungry, that you're lacking food in some way.
I've also kind of experienced I think like, okay, what has made me hungry for certain kinds of things? I have seen, so for some people it could be like status. So in other words, that person is a higher status, and there is a window for you to become that.
I think.
I'm not saying that these are great things, but I am saying what actually makes people hungry.
I think what makes people hungry is they see a fatso.
Yeah.
They see somebody well-fed.
Yes.
And they go, I'm not well-fed. You have to have a self-realization that I need food. I need good food. I need nutrient food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if I see that, I go, man, I want to get some of that pie. I want to get some of that food.
Fatso. I love that.
Because technically, wherever I hear God's doing something right now, there's something great is happening at the gate. And there's another church up in Kentucky, and there's another church, and things are happening. God is doing stuff. I'm hungry for that. I'll go there and check that out. And so some of my friends do the same thing because they're hungry. They want to have more of that food. And so that's the thing. We got to open the people's eyes up and say, you're hungrier than you think you are. or hopefully you are. I pray that you get hungry for the things of God, because that's when you go get it. When you're not, when you had you ate too much and you're sitting back resting on your full tummy, you're happy now. That's a whole nother story. And that's not necessarily good. So, I mean, we're saying this at the end of the broadcast, but technically, I hope you listen all the way through, because some people have got to hear. I mean, the things you're pointing out, it's more like being a point man. You're out front saying, "Hey, this and this," and they're going,
Yeah.
"Why is he out there saying that? Back here, let's settle down right here." And he's saying, "No, we can't settle here. If we settle here, we go into nothingness. We lose our point. We become pointless. We got see that over there. I see that. We need to go there. That's a point man, and we need those point men like you to point the way and say, we got to go this way. You may not all have all the answers. That's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be a genius. Yeah, but you do see that, and you point to that, and that is a better thing. When we see God do things in the church that need to be done, that edify the church, that build the church up, that get people going, actually that raises leaders, we could say it that way, then we're actual purpose. We have a purpose, and that's very important. So functionality in the area of the things of the Spirit and being led by the Holy Spirit and kind of thing, and getting into that is actually a very healthful. I've seen more people grow and break out of their bondage of some type, just in insecurities, because they saw God, they had God touch them in an amazing way, and everybody poo-pooed and said, that's not God. Well, guess what? It was God, and you missed it. And I've been there. I've seen it happen. And you would say, well, you can't change that girl. She hides behind her mother. I know this one girl, 14, hides behind her mother all the time, very shy, very self-absorbed and worried. And she gets touched by God. She has a vision of Jesus laughing. She never was the same first person since, and became a worship leader for the church without her mom.
Well,
So
definitely a major theme throughout the New Testament is I'm here in front of you, and how could you possibly see the divine if even in the flesh you won't even see it?
my dream and hope and everything is to preach a sermon to a church, and people see and hear what God is saying. They're saying, he brought God with him, or God brought him with him, whatever. But
yeah.
there's a God thing happening. Just like there's a God factor. I'm more interested in that now. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, wow, you got good teaching, you got good points. It doesn't cut the mustard anymore for me. I want to say, I heard God say when you said this, God spoke to me and God said this. That's my dream. Because that causes hunger.
Oh, I see. It takes a while before we actually kind of really figure out, like, crux of this. Now, the good thing is when we go and we do the little AI cuts or whatever, it will go, whoop.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens on that too. You're going to give it all to him and see what he says.
Yeah, well, it's built into that service that we use.
Oh, it's built into it?
Yeah. So, I mean, fingers crossed that it starts to cut some of those things out, but it probably will. Yeah. That's why when we did the broadcast where we had like no audio till the end, it didn't really matter. It's like, oh, here's some juicy stuff, and it was very juicy.
I think it does a pretty good job.
Yeah. Got any final words here, John?
I asked AI, give me a message. So he gave me a message about self-help.
The AI guy.
So I said to AI, I said, nah, that's just self-help. Go deeper. And he said, oh, okay, you want to go deeper? He gave me another thing about letting go and delving into things that will help you. And I said, no, I'm not talking about that. I want deeper. And he finally got to a point where he said to me, maybe the question is not, is there something deeper? Because Job asked God about, why him and why God. And God said, were you there when I planned the worlds? You weren't there. There's nothing deeper for you. You just need to know your place. And Jesus said, you must be born again but you don't know where the wind going, where the wind come from. You hear the word, you hear the wind, you can't tell where it came from, and you can't tell where it's going, because some stuff are just beyond you. And that really spoke to my, okay, Lord, it's beyond me. I kind of let go of demanding an answer, which could be dangerous, but it also could be life-changing. I tried to tell this lady the other day this very same thing that I'm saying right now, and she looked at me and said, no, this is the way it is, and this is the way it is, and this is the way it is. I said, okay, I agree with you. What was I going to do? Disagreeing with her is not going to help her. So I agreed with her, and then when I agreed with her, she started thinking. She would not start thinking until I said, okay, I'll go your way. I'll walk down the road that you're walking, but it ain't going nowhere. I've already been there. And so sometimes, even Jesus said, agree with your adversary quickly so he doesn't take you to the courts. He'll try to prove his thing and take you before the judge, and it probably won't go well for you. But if you agree with him quickly, he'll go, well, wait a minute now, time out. That's not what I wanted. I wanted a fight. You're not getting a fight from me. You used to, but not anymore. I'm willing to go with you for a while. I mean, I know what's going to end up, generally speaking. And I'm not a really good follower of a leader, per se, but I do listen to him. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we'll see y'all next Saturday, 8 a.m.-ish.
Yeah, and look, comment, share something, please, please, please. We aren't getting enough sharing, enough comments. And if you don't like us, say you don't like us. I like that too.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
That's right.